Okay, let's be real. You've seen them everywhere, right? Essential oils. They have totally blown up. I mean, they've jumped from those little alternative medicine shops right into the mainstream. You see them in diffusers, skincare, people are even putting them in their drinks.
But here's the thing. As they've gotten more popular, the claims have gotten, well, kind of wild and all over the place. So what's the deal? Are we talking about a real wellness revolution in a bottle, or is it just a really, really nice smell? Let's dig in and figure it out.
All right, so first things first. Before we can even get into the big debates, we've got to understand what we're even talking about. Like, what is actually in these little bottles?
So at their core, they're just super concentrated extracts from plants. According to Dr. Yufeng Lin over at the Cleveland Clinic, plants make these things called phytochemicals. Think of them as the plant's own little toolkit for staying healthy, and it turns out some of that stuff can be really good for us too.
And when I say concentrated, I mean it. Check this out. To get just 1 single pound of rose essential oil, you need 5,000 pounds of rose petals. That's insane, right? We're not talking about a little tea bag here. This is some seriously potent stuff.
And that concentration, that's the whole point. It's why Dr. Lin calls it a powerful botanical medicine. And that's a really important way to think about it. It tells us we need to treat these oils with some serious respect, you know? They're not just a fancy perfume.
Okay, and this is where things get really interesting, because the real argument isn't about what essential oils are. It's about how people use them. And man, this is where two totally different worlds just collide.
So you've got two main camps. On one side, you have the clinical, body-focused approach. This is all about managing symptoms, helping you feel physically better. But on the other side, you have this transformational, soul-focused view. We're talking about healing deep emotional stuff.
Let's look at that clinical view first. This is the stuff backed by studies, the kind of thing the Cleveland Clinic talks about. We're talking about real, tangible benefits, like helping you sleep better, calming down anxiety, relieving a headache, or even killing off germs. It's all about getting specific, measurable results.
And this quote from Dr. Lin, it just nails the clinical mindset. She's not saying they don't work. The benefits are there, but the big concern is using them the right way, the safe way. It's a cautious approach, It's all about playing by the rules.
Okay, now let's switch gears and look at that other path. This is where people like health mentor Melody Watts come in, and she's talking about using oils for things that are way more personal, way more profound. I mean, releasing trauma, taking ownership of your life, even healing something as deep as the bond between a mother and child.
For advocates like Melody, this isn't just about feeling a little better. It's about changing your entire life. Her whole journey started because she needed the freedom to be there for her kids after some really tough times. And for her, teaching people about essential oils was the way to get that freedom.
And this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. In this world, an oil isn't just for a physical thing. So fennel, it's not for your tummy, it's the oil of responsibility. Myrrh, it's not just some old school resin, it's for healing that maternal connection. It's a completely different language.
So you have to be asking, how can one person look at the same little bottle of oil and see such completely different things? Well, a lot of it boils down to the trickiest, most controversial part of this whole conversation: safety, quality, and the promises that get made. Okay, so there are basically 3 ways people use these oils. You can breathe them in with a diffuser, you can put them on your skin, usually mixed with another oil, and you can swallow them. And that third one, ingesting them, that is where the real fireworks start.
And this really gets to the core of the fight. On one side, you have a very clear warning from the medical community saying, don't do it. And on the other, you have advocates passionately saying that taking them internally is one of the most powerful ways to use them.
So, from the clinical perspective, Dr. Lin couldn't be clearer. She says, basically, I recommend against using them this way. Why? Because they are so incredibly strong they could actually hurt you. She even mentions they can burn the inside of your mouth. But then you hear the other side. Melody Watts says that their oils, well, they are safe to take internally. She even says there's research showing that when you do, it directly affects your brain chemistry, things like dopamine and serotonin.
So, what gives? How can both of these things be true? Well, the entire argument from the advocate side really comes down to one single massive idea. Not all oils are created equal. They believe the oils they're using are just on a completely different level than anything else out there.
So people who support ingestion, they'll point to a super strict quality control process. They say their company, doTERRA, works directly with the farmers, so there are no middlemen. They run like 54 different tests, and they only harvest the plants once a year when they're absolutely perfect. They even mention their lavender oil being called pharmaceutical grade. And that, they say, is the reason their oils are safe to ingest while others just aren't.
All right, so we've looked at the science, we've looked at the different ways people use them, and we've dived into that huge safety debate. And what we're left with are two very, very different ways of looking at essential oils.
And this really breaks it down, doesn't it? You've got the clinical view, which is all about scientific studies, data, and helping with physical issues or boosting your mood. Then you have the transformational view, which is built on incredibly powerful personal stories, and it's focused on that deep emotional, spiritual healing. So one path is about data, and the other is about personal testimony.
And that really brings it all back to you, doesn't it? It leaves us with this one big question. When it comes to your own health and wellness, which matters more to you, the hard science or the powerful story? Because your answer to that probably says a lot about which of these paths you'd choose to walk down.